Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about the Metropolis palette. Oh my god. I have been filming looks for this palette for some time now in preparation for this video, and I'm really happy we are here finally. I feel like I should have done more looks with this because there's so many looks you can do with this palette. I feel like what I'm about to show you is barely scratching the surface. So today I'm going to show you how I achieved this eye look. It's super stunning. Natasha Denona, you're killing me. I decided to review this palette after a couple of you asked me for a review after watching my bronze eyeshadow palette. So if you haven't seen my review of the bronze eyeshadow palette, I'll link it at the top. So this is what the Metropolis palette looks like. And just to let you know, for the longest time, I did not buy this palette. When it came out, I didn't buy it. I actually only bought this palette earlier this year, back in March. And that's for several reasons. First of all, it's very expensive. Spending this kind of money on a palette is a big decision. Well, at least for me, it was a big decision. And I saw lots of reviews on YouTube and a lot of people doing looks with this palette. And that kind of put me off. Like, I'm gonna be honest here, the looks that I've seen on YouTube with this palette, at least back then, I don't know what they look like now, but a lot of them had an orange, a gold, a green, a blue, all of these eyeshadows on one eye at the same time. And I saw these looks and I'm looking at these looks going, whoa, that looks a bit crazy to me. Right? To me, it looked a bit crazy because that's just not my personal style. I don't want to have lots of different colors on my eye, especially because my eyes are actually really small. I don't have a lot of lid space. So having all these different types of colors to me just looked way too crazy. And so I didn't buy this palette for the longest time because A, price, B, all the tutorials and reviews I saw for this palette, most of them were rocking looks that were too intense for me and the type of makeup that I do. And then one day I was walking around in Sephora, and by this time I actually hadn't seen this palette in person. Not sure how this happened, but I hadn't seen it. So it's only this year in March that I actually saw this palette in person. And I was walking by the Natasha Denona counter and I saw it, and I swear to God, my heart almost stopped. It was breathtaking. I don't know about you guys, but the color story in this palette is, I feel like if my soul was an eyeshadow palette, it would be this. Yeah, that's a very strong statement. Yeah, and you see why I was stopped in my tracks and I had to hold my breath, because when I saw this palette in person, I was truly starstruck. And online, seeing this really didn't do it justice at all, not in my opinion. And then I started swatching the shades. I specifically started swatching the cream to powder finish that is brand new in this palette, and whoo, that's it. The cream to powder won me over because all I did was go into this palette with my finger. I felt it so smooth and buttery, and I swatched it on my hands and I was like, oh my god, this is so buttery and smooth. It's really unreal. It's unreal. And so for me, seeing this palette in person, actually swatching this cream to powder formula is kind of what won me over. And then I decided that yes, I want it. So there's a bit of a process I like to do when it comes to buying eyeshadow palettes, because there's so many out in the market and it can get really overwhelming which one to get, especially these days. The formulations across a lot of these palettes are great. So there's a little bit of a process that I use to figure out whether I should buy a palette or not, and I will link that video above explaining to you what my process is. So I used that process and I came to the conclusion that yes, I needed this in my life. So you know what? I have given this palette a huge introduction. if you haven't left by now, I hope not. Let's just get into the looks first. I want to show you what looks you can get with this palette. Actually, more importantly, I want to show you the type of looks that I love doing with this palette. And after that, let's dig into this palette. So for this first look, I'm going to be taking this shade and applying this all over my eye. I'm winging it out a little bit and taking this right up into my crease. And going into my lower lash line as well. Now for this shade, I'm just going to add a little bit more depth in the outer V, and I'm just going to wing this out as well. So just going back in to add a little bit more dimension and a little bit more depth. Taking this shade into the lower lash line as well, and up into the crease as well. And then I'm just going to blend all that out. Now this shade is a great shade for diffusing the edges, so I often use this shade just to smooth out and blend out the crease area. Now this gorgeous olive shade, I am popping that right in the middle and taking it a little bit into the inner corner of the eye. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous olive shimmer. Now I'm taking just a brown pencil and just lining very close to the lash line. Then I'm just smudging that brown pencil out because I just want a soft look. Hey guys, so this is the final look that I've got for my eyes. As you can see, the look turned out really beautiful. So the interesting thing about this look is that I would not normally pair a warm eyeshadow with cool olive greenish tones. Like, I would never pair those two together. However, because they are in the Metropolis palette, I've actually ended up with a look that I really, really love. I love having that warmth in the background, and then of course those olive green tones that will give you the sultry, smoky look. What do you guys think? Just coming in a little bit closer. So now for this next look, I'm just straight going into this darker bluey green shade, and I am going to roughly draw the line around my eye. So I'm going to wing it out and take it up into the crease, just keeping it nice and soft so I know where I'm going to go. And now I'm just slowly deepening this crease area. So I'm going back and forth and really just deepening up this area. I've gone back in and now I'm just intensifying that color and bringing it out into the outer V. Now I'm going in with that other bluey shade, which has more blue tones because I want this look to be a little bit more blue. And now I'm just adding this color to the look. Now I'm softening that crease area just so the colors blend in nicely together. So I'm taking this teeny tiny brush and applying a setting spray. You can use any spray you like, and then I will pick up that shimmer shade and they'll just give me more intensity. And I also want to be very precise, which is why I'm using this brush and not my finger, all over my lid. And I'm going to go right up to the crease as well with this one because I want my eyes to look big. Now I'm just taking a fluffy brush and going back into that first shade and really just focusing that shade in that inner eye just to make sure the colors are nice and smooth. Now I'm tightlining with a nice black pencil, and I'm taking the same pencil and just applying this shade really close to my lash line. Again, my eyes are small, so I don't want to do a thick liner. I'm just trying to keep it as thin as possible. And I'm doing the same and going very close to my lower lash line with the same black shade. I'm just cleaning up with a Q-tip because I don't want any darkness in my waterline. Now I'm taking a black eyeshadow and just topping that liner off with that black eyeshadow just to deepen up my lash line. And this is the final look. I really love this look. I love how it's kind of blue, it's kind of green, it's a pretty intense smoky eye, but still very wearable. Totally love this, and I've worn this actually a few times now. So I really hope you guys enjoy this look. Okay, for the next look, I'm just going to take this beautiful brown shade and I'm going to go all over my lid with this shade. Winging that out as per normal. And just blending this right up into the crease as well. And of course, taking it down into my lower lash line. Now for this next shade, I am just going to smoothen out those edges as well. Now I'm just taking a brown pencil and just adding that to my upper lash line. And now just smudging that brown out. I want to keep this nice and soft. Now taking this beautiful Duochrome on my finger. I love this color. And just tapping this across my lid. Yes. Totally love this shade. You can see how happy I am. Going back in, and I'm just using this and applying this all over the lid. This is a very quick and easy look, by the way. Now I'm taking that brown pencil and just adding a little bit of that back into my upper lash line, because some of that glitter kind of drags down into the upper lash line. And this is the look. It's beautiful, it's very sparkly. I feel like it makes your eye really pop, especially if you have small eyes. If you take that glitter shade right up into the crease, it actually makes your eyes look really big. Now I've just actually changed my lip color and my clothing, so you can see how the same look looks so stunning just with a different lip color as well. Now for the last look, we are going to take this muted olive brown shade and I'm just going to add this all over my lid. Now taking that blue shade and I'm just going to add that all over my mobile lid. And I'm going quite rough with this. I'm not being extra careful. I just want that pigment. And now I'm just extending this out a little bit in the outer corner and then of course going up a little bit into the crease as well. And now I'll be dragging this shade down into the lower lash line as well. Now picking up this shade, I am just going to be cleaning up around this area and just making sure it's nice and smooth. So the same darker shade, I've gone into my lower lash line. Now picking up this beautiful gold, all I'm doing is tapping it on with my finger. And I'm tapping in very gently because I don't want this shade to be all over my eye. I just want it to be mainly focused in the center. Then I'm taking a clean finger and just tapping at the side so it blends in. Hey guys, I am back with a full face. Now all I've done with my eyes, I've just added a black eye pencil just at the edge of my lash line, and I've gone back in with a black eyeshadow right on top of that, and of course I've smudged a little bit of that black pencil and a little bit of the black eyeshadow just in the lower lash line there. And this is the finished look. Gorgeous, right? I mean, come on, this looks so good and it was so easy to do. So this is a palette that you can actually do a ton of different looks. The looks that I've shown you today are really just the tip of the iceberg. You can do so many looks with this, and even though I've had this palette since March, I feel like I've used this palette a lot in this time. And yet, there's so many looks I can straight away see that I know I haven't done and I could do, and I'm pretty sure they're going to look amazing. But let's talk about some specific shades here. So this palette actually has 10 cream to powder shades, and I love that because I love that formulation. So for example, this shade here is cream to powder, then you've got these two greens, these two, this one, these two here, this one at the top, all those are cream to powder. Now, unfortunately, and it is a limitation of this palette, is it only has one duochrome, which is this shade here, which I've actually used a lot. I definitely use this shade a lot. Okay, so you can see that this green looks gorgeous with that duochrome on top, and then you've got that darker, deeper blue with the duochrome on top. It looks really stunning. Let me show you this shade right here. So I've added a little bit of duochrome right on top of this shade. How beautiful is that? It looks really stunning on the eye. And this shade is right here. So I've used this one on the base, and then I've just topped it with that duochrome. And you can do this with any of these matte shades. They look so pretty. I quickly want to show you the difference between this shade right here with this shade. They look very similar and they're just a little bit different. So this is more green and this is more blue. I hope you can see that. That's the difference between those two shades. Yes, they are very similar. I think Natasha Denona could have skipped one, honestly speaking. But they do look different. One leans more green, other one leans a little bit more blue. So with the blue one, which is this shade here, if you pop this shade all over the eye, you can go with this really bright, beautiful red shade. Just a little bit like I've done today with the gold. You can do that with the red shade and it looks like a great holiday eye. So I'm gonna pick up this red just on my little finger there. And I'm just going to pop it right next to that. Look at that. So that turns into an amazing holiday eye look. By the way, this gold that I'm wearing, you would have seen, is this gold right here. A very beautiful, very unique shade. It's a bit of a yellow and green gold. It's really beautiful. That's what I've got right on top of that blue. And oof, yes. I freaking love this palette. I really do. And for me, this was an amazing purchase. By the way, just a note, if the price tag on this makes you want to vomit, don't buy it. Just don't. Instead, consider buying the bronze palette from Natasha Denona. It's honestly just as beautiful. And I use the bronze palette a lot as well, and it is so much more affordable than paying for something like this. Honestly, I love the Metropolis. The only thing bad about the Metropolis is, of course, the price and the fact that some of the shades are very similar to each other. So you do definitely have some shades that I wish were different. And of course, it doesn't have enough duochromes. It only has that one duochrome. I feel like if Natasha Denona had just removed some of the similar shades and turned them into duochromes, that probably would have been an epic palette. But hey, that's okay. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit that bell notification so you know every single time that I upload. And I will see you guys in my next video. See ya.